I need to tell someone what I did, and you're going to think I'm the worst kind of person. But there's something about feeling completely invisible in your own relationship that makes you say things you can't take back, things that blow up your entire life. And the thing is, when I said those words to Marcus, maybe I need a real man, I didn't actually mean them. Not really. I was just so desperate for him to look at me the way he used to fight for me, to show me anything that resembled passion. But instead, he just looked at me with these completely calm eyes and said, "Then go find one." And then he did something I never saw coming, something that made me realize I'd been playing a game I didn't understand the rules to. But I'm getting ahead of myself, because the part that makes me look the absolute worst isn't even that. It's what I did after and why I did it, and how I convinced myself I was somehow the victim in all of this, even as I was setting fire to everything around me. If I don't tell this story the right way, you'll just see me as another girlfriend who said something cruel and got what she deserved. But once you know what was really happening, what Marcus was doing behind his calm, reasonable exterior, and what I found out about Sarah, you'll understand why I spiraled the way I did. Or maybe you won't. Maybe you'll still think I'm terrible, but at least you'll know the whole truth. I met Marcus 4 years ago at a marketing conference in Austin. He was presenting on brand psychology, and I was immediately drawn to how measured and thoughtful he was. After my ex, who was all explosive emotions and drama, Marcus felt like exactly what I needed. He was stable, reliable. He never yelled, never made scenes, never did anything unpredictable. For the first 2 years, I thought I'd finally found an actual adult relationship. The problem started so gradually I didn't even notice at first. It was like watching paint dry, except the paint was our relationship and the wall was my life. We stopped having sex as often. Then we stopped having interesting conversations. Then we stopped really looking at each other. By year 3, we were roommates who occasionally kissed goodbye in the morning. Roommates who split the grocery bills and took turns choosing what to watch on Netflix and existed in the same space without actually connecting. I tried everything. I'd plan elaborate date nights that he'd go along with, but never seemed excited about. I'd try to talk about it, and he'd nod and say we should work on things, and then nothing would change. I bought lingerie. I suggested couples therapy. I tried picking fights just to get some kind of emotional reaction from him. Nothing worked. He just remained calm, reasonable, and completely distant. Sarah was my friend. Not my best friend, that was Keisha, but someone in my inner circle. We'd known each other for about 3 years, met through a book club that we both eventually stopped attending, but stayed friends anyway. She was single, always dating these guys who treated her badly, always coming to our apartment to cry about the latest disaster. And Marcus was always so good with her, patient, listening, giving advice. I should tell you now that I'm the kind of person who gets mean when I feel backed into a corner. Not physically, but verbally. I find the exact thing that will hurt the most, and I go for the jugular. It's not something I'm proud of, but it's something you need to know about me to understand what happened next. It was a Saturday night in March, and we just sat through another silent dinner. I'd tried to talk about this article I'd read, about this couple who'd hiked the entire Appalachian Trail to save their marriage, and Marcus just kept saying, while scrolling through his phone. After dinner, I suggested we watch a movie together. Actually, together. And he said he was tired and was going to read in bed. Something in me just snapped. I followed him into the bedroom, and I said, "Do you even find me attractive anymore?" And he looked up from his book with this expression of mild annoyance and said, "Of course I do, Rachel. I'm just tired." "You're always tired, or busy, or distracted. When's the last time you actually wanted me?" He sighed. Actually sighed, like I was being unreasonable for wanting my boyfriend of 4 years to show me some passion. "I don't know what you want from me. I work hard all week. I'm allowed to be tired on the weekend. I want you to give a shit. I want you to act like you're still interested in me, in us, in anything. I want you to be a man who actually has feelings. That's when I said it. I was standing there in our bedroom, feeling more alone than I'd felt when I was actually single, and the words just came out. Maybe I need a real man, someone who actually wants me. I expected him to get angry, to finally show me some emotion, even if it was rage. I wanted him to yell, to tell me I was being unfair, to fight for us. Instead, he just looked at me for a long moment, then closed his book and said, "Then go find one, Rachel." Just like that. Calm, measured, like I'd suggested we try a new restaurant. Are you serious right now? You're clearly unhappy. I'm clearly not giving you what you need, so go find someone who will. He opened his book back up, actually started reading again while I stood there with my mouth open. I slept on the couch that night. I kept waiting for him to come out, to apologize, to take it back, to do something. He didn't. In the morning, he made coffee and asked if I wanted eggs, like nothing had happened. That's when I decided I'd actually do it. Not really cheat, I wasn't that person, but I'd go out, I'd flirt, I'd show him that other men did want me. I'd make him jealous. I'd make him feel something. I called Sarah and told her I needed a girls' night. I didn't tell her about the fight with Marcus. I just said I needed to blow off some steam, and she was immediately on board. She'd just been dumped by guy number whatever, so she was ready to go out too. We went to this bar downtown that I'd heard was always packed on Saturday nights. I wore this red dress that I'd bought for Marcus's company party, but that he'd barely noticed. Sarah kept telling me I looked hot, kept buying me drinks, kept pointing out guys who were checking me out. And they were, for the first time in months. I felt visible. This guy named Derek bought me a drink. Then another guy, Tom, asked me to dance. I didn't do anything beyond that, didn't kiss anyone, didn't give out my number. But I felt alive. I took a selfie in the bathroom, looking flushed and happy, and posted it to Instagram with the caption, "Needed this." When I got home at 2 a.m, slightly drunk and feeling vindicated, Marcus was asleep, or pretending to be. The next morning, he didn't ask where I'd been, didn't mention the Instagram post, didn't seem to care at all. So I did it again the next weekend, and the next. Always with Sarah, always at bars or clubs, always posting evidence that I was out there living my life. And Marcus never said a word. He was exactly as calm and uninvested as ever. But here's what I didn't notice, and this is important. Marcus had stopped being home as much. He was working late more often. He was on his phone more. But in a different way, smiling at it sometimes, texting quickly and then putting it face down. He started going to the gym more regularly. He got a haircut without me mentioning that he needed one. I was so focused on my own revenge plan that I didn't see what was right in front of me. It was Keisha who told me. We were having coffee on a Tuesday afternoon, and she had this weird expression on her face, like she was trying to figure out how to tell me something. "I need to ask you something, and please don't get mad at me for asking." "Okay? Are you and Marcus, are you guys in an open relationship now or something?" My stomach dropped. "What? No. Why would you ask that?" She pulled out her phone and showed me an Instagram story. It was from Sarah. A photo of a coffee cup next to another coffee cup, the kind of artsy shot she always took. The caption said, "Sunday mornings hit different lately," with a little heart emoji. "I don't understand," I said. "Look at the reflection in the window." I zoomed in. In the faint reflection in the window behind the coffee cups, you could just barely make out a person, a man. It was blurry, but something about the build, the posture, looked familiar. "That could be anyone," I said. "Rachel." Keisha's voice was gentle. "I've seen them together, at the farmer's market last week. They looked like a couple." I felt like I was going to throw up. "You saw Marcus with Sarah?" "I wasn't sure if you knew, if you guys had some arrangement, because Sarah's been posting all these vague things about finally finding a real connection. And Marcus hasn't been liking your posts lately. And I I had to ask. I told Keisha I had to go. I drove home, going 15 over the speed limit the whole way, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. Marcus was home, working on his laptop at the dining table. "Are you seeing Sarah?" I didn't even say hello. Just walked in and asked. He looked up at me, and for the first time in months, I saw actual emotion on his face. Not guilt, not shame, something almost like satisfaction. "We've been on a few dates," he said. "A few dates? What the fuck does that mean, a few dates? We're together, Marcus." "Are we?" He closed his laptop. "Because you told me to go find a real man. You've been going out every weekend, posting pictures of yourself at bars. Clearly looking for attention from other guys. I took your advice, Rachel. I went and found someone who actually wants the kind of relationship I can give. That's not... I didn't mean I was trying to make you jealous. I was trying to make you care. Well, it worked, just not the way you wanted it to." He stood up. "Sarah appreciates me. She thinks my stability is a good thing, not a character flaw. She doesn't try to pick fights to get a reaction. She doesn't insult my masculinity because I don't want to scream at her." "How long?" My voice came out as a whisper. "How long has this been going on?" "We started talking about 2 weeks after your comment. She reached out to me, actually. Said she was worried about me after seeing your Instagram stories. Wanted to check if I was okay. We got coffee, then we got coffee again. Then dinner. It's been about 2 months. 2 months. I'd been calling Sarah to go out with me, crying to her about how distant Marcus was being, and she'd been sleeping with him. My friend had been sleeping with my boyfriend. You're both fucking sociopaths, I said. We're both single people who found each other, Marcus corrected. You ended our relationship when you told me I wasn't man enough for you. I'm just the only one who accepted it. He left, packed a bag and went to stay with a friend, which I now knew meant with Sarah. And I sat in our apartment, scrolling through Sarah's Instagram, seeing all the signs I'd missed, the vague posts about new beginnings, the coffee cups, the photo of a sunset from a park that Marcus and I used to go to together. The caption on that one, finding happiness in unexpected places. I called Keisha and told her everything. She was appropriately outraged, called Sarah every name in the book, offered to come over with wine and ice cream. But then she said something that stuck with me. I mean, you did tell him to go find someone else, and you were basically trying to make him think you were going to cheat. I'm not saying what they did is okay, but I don't know, Rach. You kind of started this. I told her she was supposed to be on my side and hung up, but her words kept echoing in my head. Had I started this? Was this actually my fault? No. What Marcus and Sarah did was betrayal. You don't just start dating your girlfriend's friend because you had a fight. That's not how normal people handle conflict. They were both terrible people, and I was the victim here. That's what I told myself as I crafted my response. I spent 3 days planning it, thinking through every angle. I wasn't going to be the bad guy in this story. They were going to be the villains, and everyone was going to know exactly what they'd done. I wrote out the whole story in a Facebook post. Every detail. The fight. The comment I'd made. Marcus's cold response. How he'd started dating my friend while we were still together. How she'd betrayed me while pretending to support me. I made sure to include screenshots of Sarah's Instagram stories, pointed out the timeline, made it crystal clear that they'd started their relationship while Marcus and I were still living together. I framed it carefully. I admitted I'd said something hurtful in a fight, but emphasized that I'd been desperately trying to save our relationship, while Marcus had already moved on with someone in my inner circle. I painted myself as someone who'd made a mistake in a moment of frustration, and them as calculated cheaters who'd humiliated me. Then I posted it publicly and tagged them both. Within an hour, I had over 100 comments. Friends telling me how sorry they were. People calling Marcus and Sarah terrible names. My cousin saying she'd never trusted Marcus anyway. The validation felt incredible. I was right. They were wrong. Everyone could see it. But then Sarah responded. She wrote her own post, and this is where everything started to get complicated in a way I hadn't anticipated. She posted screenshots of texts between us. Texts where I'd told her Marcus was a boring, passionless robot. Where I'd said I was going to show him what he's missing by going out and getting male attention. Where I'd literally said, maybe if he thinks I'm about to cheat, he'll finally give a shit. She included a screenshot of a text Marcus had sent her when they first got coffee. Rachel and I are over. She made it clear I'm not what she wants. We're just coexisting until one of us moves out. I appreciate you checking on me. Her post said, I'm sorry Rachel is hurting, but the truth is, she ended her relationship with Marcus weeks before we started dating. She told me herself she wanted out, that Marcus was boring, that she wanted someone more exciting. Marcus told me they were done, and just sharing an apartment until the logistics worked out. I asked him multiple times if he was really single. And he assured me he was. If I'd known Rachel still considered them a couple, I never would have pursued this. But the screenshots show what was really happening. Rachel wanted out, but didn't want to be the one to actually end it. The comments on my post started changing. People asking if this was true. People saying it sounded like a miscommunication. People saying maybe we'd all handled it badly, but that I shouldn't have aired it publicly. I wanted to throw my phone through the window. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. They were supposed to be the villains, and instead, Sarah had made it look like a complicated situation where everyone was kind of wrong. Marcus didn't respond publicly. He sent me a private message. Take down the post. This is between us. Making it public is cruel to everyone involved, including you. I didn't take it down. Instead, I responded to Sarah's post with more screenshots. Her telling me 2 months ago that she thought Marcus was such a good guy, so patient and kind. Me responding that he was patient to the point of being robotic. Her saying, some women would kill for a stable, reliable guy like that. Me saying, then they can have him. See? I wrote in my comment. She wanted him the whole time. She was circling my relationship like a vulture. But even as I posted it, I could feel the narrative slipping away from me. Because the screenshots proved what Keisha had said. I'd been trashing Marcus for weeks. I'd been openly saying I wanted out. I'd been trying to manipulate him into either fighting for me or giving me an excuse to leave. And Sarah and Marcus had taken me at my word. The comments became a battleground. Half the people saying I'd been emotionally checked out and couldn't be mad that Marcus moved on. The other half saying that living together meant we were still in a relationship, period, and what they did was cheating. It became this whole thing about the definition of when a relationship ends, about emotional cheating versus physical cheating, about whether my initial comment had been verbal abuse. I spent days glued to my phone, arguing with strangers, screenshotting conversations, building my case. I created a whole timeline proving that Marcus and I had still been official when he started dating Sarah. I got statements from friends about how I'd been trying to fix the relationship, not end it. But here's what I haven't told you yet, the part that makes me look the absolute worst. The truth is, I had wanted out. Deep down, in the part of myself I didn't want to acknowledge, I'd been done with Marcus for months. I just didn't want to be the one to end it. I didn't want to be the one who gave up on a stable, kind man because he was boring. I didn't want to be the shallow person who needed constant excitement and validation. So I'd been sabotaging us, picking fights, going out and posting thirst traps, saying cruel things designed to push him away. I'd wanted him to either transform into someone different or break up with me so I could be the victim instead of the villain. And when he called my bluff, when he actually took me up on my suggestion to find someone else, I was furious because he'd flipped the script. He'd made me the villain anyway. The Facebook war continued for almost a week. My mom called me and told me to take it down, that I was embarrassing myself. My boss pulled me aside and said that clients could see my profile and maybe I should consider making it private. Keisha stopped responding to my texts about new evidence I'd found. Then Marcus posted. Just once. A simple statement. Rachel and I had been unhappy for a long time. We both said and did things that hurt each other. I should have been clearer about considering us broken up before I started dating Sarah. That's on me. But Rachel's public campaign to destroy my and Sarah's reputations is vindictive and disproportionate. I'm asking everyone to please stop engaging with this. I wish Rachel the best, and I'm moving on with my life. It was so measured, so mature, so fucking Marcus, and it made me look completely unhinged by comparison. Here I was with my wall of screenshots and my essays about betrayal and my timeline of evidence, and he wrote 4 sentences and came out looking like the reasonable one. The comments on my posts dried up. People stopped engaging. I could feel everyone backing away slowly, like I was a crazy person screaming on a street corner. I finally deleted everything about 3 days later, not because I thought I was wrong, but because I could see it was only making things worse. The narrative had been set. I was the unstable girlfriend who'd pushed her boyfriend away and then lost it when he actually left. Sarah blocked me on everything. Marcus got his stuff from the apartment while I was at work, leaving his key on the counter. Our mutual friends started declining my invitations to hang out, always with polite excuses. I moved out of our apartment 2 months later, into a studio on the other side of town. Started therapy because my mom insisted. Tried to rebuild my life and my reputation. My therapist asked me in our 3rd session why I'd said what I said to Marcus that night. The real man comment. What I'd really been trying to accomplish. I wanted him to fight for me, I said. I wanted him to show me he cared. Did you care about him? I opened my mouth to say, of course I did, but the words stuck in my throat, because the honest answer was, I don't know. I cared about not being alone. I cared about being in a relationship that looked good on paper. I cared about being chosen and wanted. But did I actually care about Marcus, the specific person? Did I love the man he was? Or was I just angry he wasn't the man I wanted him to be? I think about that question a lot. Because here's the thing nobody tells you about being the villain in your own story. It's really hard to figure out exactly when you became the villain. Was it when I said the real man comment? Was it when I started going out trying to make him jealous? Was it earlier when I started picking fights because I was bored? Or was it way back at the beginning when I chose Marcus not because I loved him, but because he was the opposite of my ex? It's been 8 months now. I saw on Instagram, because I'm weak, and I still check, I still torture myself, that Marcus and Sarah are still together. They went to Hawaii together. She posted a photo of them at sunset. His arm around her. Both of them smiling. The caption was just a heart emoji. Simple. Happy. Not performative. I went on a few dates through apps. Nothing serious. One guy, David, seemed promising until our 3rd date when I told him the story, my version, obviously, where I was more sympathetic. He listened and then said, "Sounds like you guys just weren't compatible. At least everyone got out before getting married or having kids." That simple reframing made me irrationally angry. I didn't want it to be a simple story of incompatibility. I wanted it to be a story of betrayal and vindication. I wanted to be right. David and I didn't go out again. My therapist says I use anger to avoid sadness, that I'd rather be righteously furious at Marcus and Sarah than sit with the grief of a failed relationship and lost friendship. She's probably right. Being angry feels powerful. Being sad just feels pathetic. I still don't think what they did was okay. You don't start dating your girlfriend's friend when you're still living with said girlfriend, no matter how checked out the relationship is. You have an actual breakup conversation. You move out. You wait a respectful amount of time. Those are the rules. But I also know I broke rules too. You don't insult your partner's masculinity to manipulate them into giving you attention. You don't emotionally check out while still demanding they stay invested. You don't publicly humiliate people because they didn't follow the script you'd written in your head. Keisha and I got coffee last month. First time we'd really talked since everything happened. She told me people had mostly forgotten about the Facebook drama, that Marcus and Sarah kept to themselves and didn't talk about me. She said I should try to move on, that holding on to this wasn't helping anyone. Do you think I was wrong? I asked her. About all of it. She was quiet for a minute. I think you were hurt and you handled it badly. I think they handled it badly too. I think everyone could have been better. That's a diplomatic answer. It's an honest one. She stirred her coffee. Rachel, you're my friend and I love you. But you're so focused on figuring out who was right and who was wrong that you're missing the point. It doesn't matter anymore. It's over. You need to figure out what you actually want instead of just reacting to what other people do. I think that's the part that haunts me the most, that I still don't know what I want. I know what I don't want. I don't want to be bored. I don't want to be invisible. I don't want to be the bad guy. But in terms of what I'm actually moving toward, I have no idea. Sometimes I draft texts to Sarah. Apologies, accusations, questions. I never send them. What would be the point? She's made her choice. Marcus made his. The only choice left is mine, and I still don't know what it is. I'm telling you this story now because my college roommate just called me. She's going through a rough patch with her husband. They're fighting a lot. They're disconnected. She feels invisible. And she said to me, I just want to tell him he's failing as a husband. Maybe that would wake him up. And I wanted to tell her everything. I wanted to tell her that using words as weapons only gives other people permission to walk away. That trying to manipulate someone into caring about you just builds a relationship on a foundation of games and resentment. That you can't force someone to be who you need them to be, and destroying them for not being that person doesn't make you right. But I also wanted to tell her that sometimes people really do fail you. That sometimes your anger is justified even if your actions aren't. That being the bigger person is cold comfort when you're alone in a studio apartment, scrolling through your ex's happy photos with someone who used to be your friend. I wanted to tell her that 8 months later, I still don't know if I was the villain or the victim, or just another person who handled pain badly and hurt people in the process. Instead, I just said, be careful with ultimatums. People might take them. She laughed and said I was probably right, and we moved on to other topics. But after we hung up, I sat there thinking about that moment in my bedroom, standing there in my anger and loneliness, throwing out those words like a grenade I never expected to actually explode. Maybe I need a real man. If I could go back, would I swallow those words? Would I have an actual, honest conversation instead? Would I just break up with Marcus myself instead of trying to force his hand? I don't know. Because the messy truth is that in that moment, hurting him felt like the only way to feel anything at all. And feeling something, even if it was cruel, felt better than the nothing we'd been living in. I'm not proud of that. But it's true. Marcus was right that I wasn't happy. Sarah was right that I'd been trashing him to our friends. Keisha was right that I started it. My therapist is right that I use anger to avoid grief. My mom was right that I embarrassed myself. But I was also right that what they did hurt, that it was a betrayal, that I deserved better than being replaced before the relationship was officially over. Everyone was a little bit right and a little bit wrong, and that doesn't make for a satisfying story. It doesn't give me anyone to clearly blame or any obvious path to redemption. It just is what it is, a mess that everyone contributed to and no one handled well. The part that keeps me up at night isn't even the big dramatic moments. It's the small ones. It's remembering Marcus bringing me coffee in bed on Sunday mornings during our first year, before everything got stale. It's remembering Sarah and me laughing until we cried over some stupid inside joke. It's remembering who I was before I became someone who weaponizes words and airs private pain publicly and can't tell the difference between fighting for something and just fighting. I said, maybe I need a real man. And he said, go find one. And then he found someone else instead. And I burned it all down, trying to prove I was the wronged party. And maybe I was. But being wronged doesn't make me right about how I responded. That's what I'd tell myself 8 months ago if I could. That being hurt doesn't justify hurting back. That you can't make someone love you the way you want to be loved by making them feel small. That sometimes the person you're really angriest at is yourself. And you'll destroy everything around you trying to avoid looking in that mirror. But I couldn't hear that then. I'm barely ready to hear it now. So I'm here, in my studio apartment, still checking their Instagrams sometimes, still mentally arguing my case to an invisible jury, still trying to figure out if I'm telling this story as a confession or a justification. Maybe it's both. Maybe that's the point. Maybe the worst part isn't that I don't know who was right. It's that I'm still keeping score at all.